Hi, fifth grade. M.C. Escher is a great artist that worked in the area of graphic design, and he's known for this one type of art called tessellations. It's actually based on a math concept and is often done with geometric shapes, but he took it to the next level of art. Tessellations are interlocking shapes. They have a repeated pattern, often with a strong diagonal. They're simplified, stylized shapes. They use shared borders, and they use each other's positive and negative space in the design. Often when I teach this, I have students think about wallpaper or carpet design. Usually in wallpaper or carpet design, there is no specific beginning and end point because you want the whole pattern to constantly have a repeat so that it's not so obvious. So this is the type of thing that you have to think about when doing a tessellation. Here's some examples of Escher's tessellations. You can see in this one here, there's some reptiles that all are interlocking. This is one of the examples of Escher's. On this one here, you can see here's a series of Pegasus or winged horse. It's easy to see the white horses on the diagonal because they're lighter and that jumps out at you. But the negative space is also the brown horse. So there's actually stripes of alternating white and brown horses. It just has to do with the coloration that it stands out. Same way with this reptile one here. There's actually green, purple, and white reptiles in a circular pattern, but the white is the more dominant color and the purple's the one that recedes. So it's hard to see that initially when you're looking at the pattern. So we are going to be working on making a simple tessellation shape. There's lots of different ways that you can do a tessellation, but we're going to do a simple one so that you get the idea and the concept. Okay, we are going to make a tessellation shape that is in the shape of a small arrow. Now, for this to work successfully, you have to make sure that your arrow is completely symmetrical on both sides. You can't just draw an arrow and not have it be precise. It must be exactly the same on both. Otherwise, you're going to not get the good repetition of shapes. So we need a small arrow. We're going to use the concept of symmetry. So we're going to just fold a corner of a piece of paper, and we're going to cut out an arrow, and because we folded it, it's going to be the same on both sides. And we want to make this as precise as possible. So I'm just going to make a small arrow pattern like this. Okay. Okay, a small arrow. Okay. Okay, a small arrow like that. That should work just fine for our tessellation pattern. Now, the paper is a little flimsy. If you have the opportunity to have thin pieces of cardboard, I would strongly suggest you take your arrow and trace it on cardboard to make a bigger tracer, because you're going to have to use this arrow over and over again as part of your pattern, and it just might hold up better if you have it out of a thin cardboard to use over and over again rather than the paper. The paper might rip. So thin cardboard, sometimes you can find cereal boxes are very good. Cereal boxes are thin cardboard. These happen to be little dividers that are in my cat food, so you can see that it makes a nice tracer here. Okay, that's good. Now, if you don't have any cardboard, you can use the paper one, but just be careful. You can't let it rip. Now, I need a regular piece of white paper. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to put my arrows at the bottom of the paper, trace them, and I'm going to do them point to point. So if you can see, I think I'll outline it with the Sharpie marker so that you can see it. I start at the edge of the paper. My point of the arrow is at the edge. Okay, so I have an arrow here. Now, I'm going to do it point to point. If I didn't want it to show up for this video, I should do it in pencil and then go over it with marker. So you can go over it with pencil and then marker so you don't slip, okay? Now, you can immediately see that I all of a sudden have an area where I can fit my tessellation inside here so that I have, you know, arrows going in that direction as well. So that's what I'm going to do for my next one. I'm going to do it upside down, and my tessellation will be half off the paper because think of it like a piece of wallpaper, a piece of carpeting where you would have, you know, cut the pattern. So you can see here how it all fits just perfectly for the next set of arrows, and then that these borders are shared borders here. When I go up to my next thing, this should fit just pretty perfectly inside the next thing. So you can see I have a row of arrows facing this direction, and then I have a row of arrows facing that direction. That's what a tessellation is. There should be no wasted space. And I should be able to fit all these pieces in as if they were puzzle pieces. And there is no real positive and negative space. It's either part of arrows facing this direction or coming down. So I just have to make sure, however, that I'm not sloppy, and I make sure that things are evenly lined up. The more precise you are with doing it and keeping everything straight, the more crisp the pattern will be at the end of it. So you can see I didn't even really have to draw many lines at all because the bottom lines are already drawn. Okay, all right. Now you can see here how I've got half my arrow. What you want to do now is you want to alternate the colors. You want to take two very strong colors so that you can see the pattern, and I would strongly suggest something maybe that's opposite the color wheel. Your complementary colors look really well in this. The complementary colors are red and green or orange and blue. or purple and gold. I think I'm going to go with a blue and orange complementary here. And so I am going to go with all the arrows going up, blue, and all the arrows going down, red. And you'll start to see how this comes together. Okay, now with this you can sort of see the white arrows and the blue arrows. Now we're going to do orange in the other spaces. Okay, here you have a wonderful tessellation. Just remember, if you're using markers, you have to use new markers so that it doesn't die in the middle because you need a good strong color. If not, use crayons. Crayons are great, and so are colored pencils. So enjoy making your tessellation. Bye.